You ready for the Michelangelo interview? I'm ready for the Michelangelo interview.
I'm so ready.
Let's listen to it. And you know what? Michelangelo Patio, he is a guitar god. He is one of the pioneers of shred. Even till this day, he is just a fantastic guitar player. And not only that, but he is one of the nicest people I've ever met in my entire life. And he's so humble. And he has a great history. So let's play that interview with Michelangelo Patio here on the Metal Mixtape.
Hey, how's it going, Michael?
Good. How are you?
It's so great, man. It's such a huge honor to talk to you, man. I've been following you for years. Thank you so much for making time out of your day to be on my radio show, The Metal Mixtape, based out of Ashland, Oregon. How are you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic. I'm really excited about the new album, and the title track video got released today, so everything's
Woo! Sounds like a beautiful day, man. You know, I've always, as a guitar player, I've always been listening to you for a long time, because even like with your solo album, No Boundaries, like it really seems like you have no boundaries. And then I was digging deeper, because usually when like you listen to a musician, you always listen to the music, but then you like start looking into your history. And when I was looking into your history a little bit of how you started listening to music, it's insane. So I was reading that you started piano at 5, you started playing guitar at 10, and you were already playing shows at the age of 12. Is that correct?
That's correct, yeah. In fact, my first show ever on guitar was 10 years old at a recital and in the music store, but then the actual real shows with the band started at 12.
That's insane, man. Did you ever think at a young age that you were just going to start playing shows like that?
Well, I've said this, because I've done, a lot of clinics over the years on public speaking. I had no backup plan my whole life. By the time I was 12 years old, I knew that I was going to be a professional guitarist and tour the world. I just pictured it. And I would picture, like, pictures of me as I got older. It's really strange, but I just had the vision that I was going to do it. And it came true.
No, I absolutely believe it, man, because, as I was digging deeper, I was reading notes on how, I believe at a certain age, your guitar teacher told you couldn't teach you anymore. And then I was reading that, like, you even got your bachelor's degree in music theory and composition.
Yes. Yeah, oh, that's true. Some of it, like, if you read Wikipedia, like, there's some really bad information. Like, Michael likes F sharp, because it's his favorite key because it's dark sounding. That's not true. What I said was that. But when I went to music school, composers liked certain keys for different sounds. Like when you think of C major, it's a very happy sounding key, but F sharp minors are darker, more like sinister sounding key. And so that's what I was referring to. That different keys have different sounds. That certain composers will compose a part in a specific key because they feel that's the right key for the part. And so it got misconstrued online. But basically, even my guitar teacher at 13, he told me that I'm faster on guitar at 13 than he was when he was 25. And I was self-taught from that point on, but I always looked I always said to myself, okay, if you've got to learn about music and study the baddest guitar players you know. So I used to watch, I got to see George Benson, the jazz player. He's incredible. He's one of my all-time favorites. And then I would watch, L.D. Miola, John McLaughlin, really fantastic guitar players, and watch how they played and steal stuff from them.
Dude, no, that's so amazing. And, no, that totally makes sense. If you love that instrument so much and you were made for it, you gotta go through every little boundary and obstacle to reach your dream. So I apologize ahead of time because I got a lot of my information off Wikipedia, and you told me a lot of it could be edited a little bit. But so I was reading that after you got your bachelor's degree in the university and all that you joined your first band called Halen. Is that true?
Well, it wasn't my first band, but when I graduated school,
yes.
I was in actually a couple bands, but we were local, and really good bands, but we were local Chicago bands. But I moved out to California
Okay.
And I was actually playing with one of the members from the band Santana. He saw me play in Chicago, and I moved out there to play with him. But the whole thing just exploded. It just imploded, however you want to say it.
Yeah.
But Halen was a unique band because we were all from the Midwest Chicago area.
Yeah.
And the management was from DeKalb, which is right outside of Chicago. And I was actually getting ready to move back home because I had a really successful session guitarist job in Chicago. I was making really good money and teaching, and I was having a hard time in LA. I was out there about 7-8 months, and I couldn't keep bands together. A lot of drugs, and I'm not a druggie. And I was just getting ready to go home. I called my dad, and I said, Dad, I don't know if I can make it out here. I was really dejected. And then he goes, and sure enough, he goes, son, a guy named Joey Setner just left a message. He's out in California. He wants to talk to you about being in their band. And I called, and that was the band Halen. And I went from nothing to moving into this big, beautiful house on top of a mountain in L.A.
Wow.
And we get signed to Atlantic, and I never looked back. Isn't that wild?
That is so wild, man. You have an awesome father for keeping you like that, man. I think that's super important. And when did you come about playing with Nitro?
Well, Nitro was more Jim Gillette because Jim Gillette, was really young singer. He was 17 when I met him, and by like 19, he had released his first solo album, and he actually hired me as a session guitar player to play on it. But he had a really good producer, a guy named Ralph Carter, who played with the band Eddie Money, and he was a songwriter. He was a producer. He was a songwriter. I mean, world-class guy, and he had done a lot of world-class things. And I was in my band, my own band called Michelangelo, and we were like selling out shows, and like I'm starting to talk like in LA. We were like doing this like raw. we were selling out shows, and we were really popular local band and poised to get signed. It would have been just a matter of time before we got signed, but everybody was interested in what I was doing with Jim Gillette. And Jim, I would go to a record company and I would play our demo, talk to people, and they'd say, yeah, this is good, but what about that Jim Gillette guy? And his name kept coming up over and over because people really had an interest in what he was doing in California at that time. He was young, he was great looking, he had this super high voice, and then when we partnered up, it only took one show, and Nitro got signed.
That's amazing.
Jim had a lot of stage presence. Girls really liked him, and guys thought he was cool. There's a lot of people, but you know what I mean? There's like women out there like that other women hate, and some women love. There's like polarizing people, and usually with the lead singer, it's like if you're a guy and you're really handsome, sometimes other guys don't like you. They just don't like the charisma. But Jim was one of these guys where women thought he was really handsome and guys thought he was cool, and that's kind of where you want to be in that situation. Kind of like Bret Michaels. It sounds weird, but a lot of people think he's cool, and especially back then.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Being here in the local music scene, I totally see that with certain lead singers and all of that. So also, so when No Boundaries came to be, I know you said you were in your own project, Michelangelo Patio. Was this your first official solo project, No Boundaries?
Yeah, it was my first solo album. I have a saying, you can't think outside the box unless you know what's in the box. And everybody uses that phrase, thinking outside the box. Well, what does that mean? Do you know what's in the box? And so I think that, being signed twice, I was signed to Atlantic Records with the band Halen. Then several years later, just a few years later, I was signed again to a Warner Brothers label with Nitro. So I had the experience of two major label record deals under my belt. And so I knew now that, once I started my own label in the 1990s, knowing CDs were very easy to buy, and I was touring around the entire world, and I had a vehicle to market them. And so I started my own company, and No Boundaries was a big success. It hit the metal charts. I was able to sell a lot of thousands and thousands of units on my own, and then I licensed it to a big distributor at the time, we're no longer a business, called Feedback. And then they distributed No Boundaries, so it had a long life to it. But the thing that I love most about going solo and doing it that way is that all the music was exactly the way I wanted.
Yes.
That's perfect.
No, that's amazing.
But when I recorded No Boundaries, like the song Science Fiction, No Boundaries, the song, and the song Peace, I couldn't have played them any better. That's the best I could play it, because I could practice it 50 times. The studio was mine. It was really my bedroom. But, I recorded it with 16 tracks in my bedroom between shows. It took about 4.5 months to do from start to finish between touring. But I was able to do it on my own time and get the best performances. And that's the thing I really loved about it. And now everybody does that. We all have home studios.
No, I think that's absolutely amazing. So when you did your solo album No Boundaries, was it did you write a bunch of new songs for the album, or was it a bunch of songs you've written throughout your career that you were saving for this special moment?
Pretty much all of them were the oldest song at the time was No Boundaries, and it was only about 2 or 3 years old. And so all of it was new material that I'd written while I was on tour.
That is absolutely amazing, man. And also, it's I was reading that you actually started your own label as well, MACE Music. Is that true?
Yeah, Mace Music. That was my first solo album, No Boundaries. It's an acronym for Michelangelo Creative Enterprises.
Love it.
And I had that name for a long time. Yeah, I still have Mace Music. That's still my corporation.
Oh, no, that's absolutely beautiful, man. And I like how when you started as a little kid that you were able to project all of this and make it reality, and I think one of the most important parts is it's just never stopping, even if it's little steps, all those little steps eventually turn into a big step.
Yeah, one of the things that I do a lot now, especially with this, COVID-19 thing, is I go online and I give free lessons once a week, and we get really big response for that. Like we had over 50,000 views just in an hour show.
Wow.
And a lot of people watch. But what I try to do with teaching guitar, it's kind of a life lesson that you have to persevere. You have to you be positive about it. You just if it's an obstacle, that's part of life. It's and now that I'm older, I've had to deal with a lot of things that just come. You can't believe it. My younger sister passing away. Who thinks of a younger sister or brother going before it? It never even occurred to me in my entire life. And I don't have my parents anymore. And, so it's a lot of things change, but the one thing that doesn't is you just keep going. That's why this record was really important, because I started recording it and then my mom died, and I had to deal with a lot of family things because I'm kind of the last one in that line, and I inherited all this, not so much money, but things, family heirlooms. Unbelievable amounts of stuff, and really nice, but from generations of my relatives that have been here. So I had a lot to do, but that's why I'm glad that album got finished. I finished it, and it turned out really good.
Well, I think it's absolutely beautiful, you sharing your music and teaching people, because I think music's real important in life, and I know, I appreciate you making time for me tonight as well, because, this is amazing to me, so.
Okay. Yeah, I love it. I still have the passion for it, and I'm really happy with the new record. It's a lot different. All my solo albums, I try to make, because it's a record.
Yep.
If I learned anything from being on major labels, they want cohesive things from start to finish. They did. Now you can do a little more, but a great example is if you're a pop artist, you better make a pop record. Don't put a metal track on one of them. Or like AC/DC, they wouldn't do a jazz fusion song on an AC/DC record.
Yeah.
It'd be crazy, and they're not going to get a saxophonist, a jazz saxophonist to do a guest solo. And so, there's continuity from start to finish.
Yep.
You can have like the Partridge records, but generally when you think of Megadeth, they're not going to put a Bob Marley song on it unless you do a metal version of it. You know, they're not going to do I Shot the Sheriff. They're not going to do it. And so I learned that lesson when I do records. So each one of my albums I have an idea of the sound, the feel, and this one I wanted it different from every other one. And a lot of my records are different from each other. That was the goal. Make it as good as possible. You know, make the songs really great, as good as you can do, and best performances, but make it different. Make it different from my previous albums.
I know that 100% makes sense. So before we get into your new album, I got like a few more questions. So one of the big questions for me is where'd you get the idea of having a multiple necked guitar? Like was one neck not enough, or were you just like, man, I just want to like expand this horizon of mine? Like how did that come to be, man?
Well, I'm left-handed, and I had to start playing right-handed guitar because there weren't enough lefties available. At least in my area, in the Chicago area, there was none. We couldn't find any. And it's not like you could go online at that time and order one. And so I'm a lefty in a right-handed world. I play piano right-handed. I play guitar right-handed, but I throw a ball left-handed. I play hockey right-handed. But a lot of things I do in my life are right-handed. A lefty has to deal with, we're a right-handed world, a right-handed society. So a lefty has to be somewhat ambidextrous to start with.
Wow.
And I'm truly ambidextrous. And I always felt I could play left-handed. But here's how I got the idea. When I was a little guy, I was about 11. I was watching I was watching a show they had every Sunday where they had different musical acts. And one week it might be orchestral music. Next week it might be country. The next one would be rock. Always different. And so I saw a jazz saxophonist named Rahsaan Roland Kirk, and he was playing. He was an old guy back then. He passed away many years ago, but if you Google him, Rahsaan Roland Kirk, and he could play multiple instruments at the same time.
Wow.
Now, they said online that he could play 3. I saw him play 2. He played 2 saxes at the same time. I didn't see 3. And I went, oh my God, I can do this on guitar. What happened was, that's why I started drawing designs of double guitars, and then I saw Eddie Van Halen in concert on a second tour, and he was really great, but he angled his guitar upward. I noticed that he was on a kind of severe angle when he played, and so what I did is I saw a picture of him in a rock magazine. I took tracing paper, traced it, flipped it over, and there was my double. And I took a protractor, measured the angles of the necks about 115 degrees.
Wow.
And that's how we built it. So I kind of thought of all this stuff before. I had it pretty much ready to go by the time the first one we built worked, because I had years to think about it. I was a kid when I started thinking about it. But again, it's just the way I do things. I mean, if I get an idea in my head and I say I'm going to do it, and I usually do it. I can't, and I'm patient enough to say, well, it doesn't have to happen today. You know, keep working at it. You know, get it right, and that's what we did.
That is absolutely amazing, man. Yeah, no, yeah, that's crazy. I know. I'm left-handed on a few things too, and I play right-handed guitar, and sometimes I feel like I can move my fingers a little faster on my right hand. That would be on the fretboard. But I don't know. Maybe I'll look up one of your guitars one of these days. But that's absolutely amazing, man.
Thanks. Well, you know, that's one thing about left-handed players. Our picking hand had to be worked. See, really, in the grand scheme of things, you can have a slow fretboard hand and an amazing picking hand, and you're going to sound amazing. But if you have a super fast fretboard hand and your picking hand's not that good, that's a problem.
Oh, okay.
You'll find later, you know, and so the picking hand, if I had to, now you don't have to pick one or the other, but if I had to, I would say the picking hand is even more important than the fretboard hand. And because a great finger picker can take a C chord and make magic with it, with the way they can
That's true.
And play. And so we, you know, as a left-handed person, I had to work a lot harder to get my right hand to be as good as my left. And I did it. You know, I knew that. I focused more on my right hand than left.
No, I think that's absolutely amazing, man. So I got one more question before we talk about your new album. So besides playing music and doing all the amazing things that you do, what's something that you like to do besides music, like on your free time?
Well, I love watching movies, and so I'm a huge movie fan, and I've got to admit, give me Harry Potter or the Avengers, Spider-Man. I like good comedies, but you don't see as many comedies today because all the comedians are afraid to get somebody mad. But I like any good movie. I'm not the hugest fan of horror movies. I like some of them. But it's not that appealing to me. But I like watching great stories and sci-fi and action movies, and so that's kind of the thing I do on my there's beautiful theaters around here, and then, I've got a nice system in my house, and I've always got guitars ready, so I'll be watching a movie and I'll use that time to do warm-ups, not really working on music, but every once in a while I come up with riffs, but just keeping my fingers, in shape. And it's kind of like somebody maybe going on a treadmill and watching a movie. But it's kind of multitasking. But I love watching movies playing a guitar.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, no, sometimes I have a hard time. Like I'll be like hanging out with my newborn son, and I'll be playing my guitar while he's in my lap. So I know how it is. Really, it's hard to put down the guitar sometimes.
No, the one thing too about music is it's really based on mathematics, and so that's why it works so good with computers. MIDI 0 to 127. I can program like Bach. Dun, 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 dun. You can program music and even move things around to give it feel. And so when like children hear music, it actually makes them better in math too. And I know a lot of kids don't want to know that, but it's because everything can be reduced to a number in music, even our tonal system. If I said, okay, let's do a 1-4-5 progression in A, people that know music know it right away. The Nashville number system. So it's we always refer to music in numbers anyway when I'm talking to my friends back and forth. Working on music.
No, I completely agree, man. And I know that's one thing I definitely want to integrate in my family when my son's a little older. I'm gonna get him some guitars. I want to get him a drum set too. But yeah, no, I completely agree, man. You could always break down music into a number. So since we're running a little bit low on time, let's get into your new album. Let's talk a little bit about it. So
I'm sorry.
Oh no, go ahead.
No, you were going to ask a question about it?
Okay, so I remember you were writing this album, and you said it meant a lot to you just because a lot of people were, passing and all that, so you put a lot into this. So tell me a little bit about how you structured it. Is it different from your older stuff? Or is it just one of is this going to be your new big golden era right here?
Well, this is definitely the most metal record I've ever done. We had Chris Adler, from Lamb of God, formerly of Lamb of God and Megadeth, play drums on a couple of the tracks. The producer, Josh Wilbur, the Grammy Award-winning producer that got the Grammy for Megadeth /album, he arranged a few of the songs, including the title track. And so I'd never delivered an album with rhythm guitars this intense and this, it's in your face. I mean, I'm a keyboard player, so all my other solo albums, No Boundaries included, were really layered, multiple rhythm guitars, keyboards over the top, moving bass. I mean, all sorts of, there's a lot of components to the songs. This new album, I said, I'm going to limit the keyboards. I'm going to make this the meanest, heaviest album I can do. And it's really technical and prog sounding, more machine than man, a lot of tempo changes, key changes, time signature changes, but there's hardly any keys to give it that prog progressive sound. So you just hear this relentless rhythm guitar and I played bass on a lot of it, except for when Victor Wooten did a guest bass solo.
Wow.
Because the riffs are so hard on this. It was easier for me to play it than teach it to somebody, and I could play it super tight to lock in a Chris Adler. And so, but I'm really proud of it because a lot of this record is focused on rhythm guitar. It's really dry rhythms. There's not a lot of effects. And with my leads, the melodies are really cool, but there's a lot of space over the top. So, like when I play some of these songs at concert, I switch from lead melodies back to the rhythm guitar because the rhythm guitar is what's featured in these sections. So it's pretty cool. It's not different from my older stuff.
Well, that's awesome, man. I know I'm looking forward to hearing it after this interview and after I get off work. So I want to thank you, Michelangelo Patio, for making time, man. You made one of my dreams come true. You're one of my guitar god heroes since I was a little kid, and I just appreciate you making time for me.
Oh, thanks. Well, I appreciate it too. Great questions, and thanks for doing the interview.
I appreciate it. Hey, Michael, would you want to do one last favor for me?
Sure.
Would you say this is Michelangelo Patio and you're listening to the Metal Mixtape?
Sorry, I heard something in the background. You're listening to the Metal Mix, right?
Mixtape.
Oh, Mixtape. Okay, sorry, I couldn't hear it. It kind of cut out there. Okay, ready?
Yep.
Okay. This is Michelangelo Patio, and you're listening to the Metal Mixtape.
Thank you so much, brother. You have a wonderful day.
Okay, thanks.
Bye.
And that was our interview with Michelangelo Batio.
Dude.
So if you noticed a couple times it was like cutting out because it was too loud and stuff, I was using a new program